Hello, my beautiful souls. Thank you for tuning in. This is going to be the first video of a hopefully very long series. I'm going to be calling it In the Matrix, where I'm going to be breaking down different topics, different systems, different, basically peeling back the onion of oppression, okay, that we have here in America and in the whole world. So today's topic is going to be inspired by the Hood Healer. So I wanted to shout out the Hood Healer, Miss Imani, because I was actually speaking on her live a little bit about this, and I really wanted to touch on white privilege, okay, and how you can actually benefit from white privilege, not even being white, right? Because I feel like ever since social injustice has been on a platform and been on the forefront of a platform, um, with 2020 and George Floyd and everything that happened in 2020. A lot of we're starting to get, I guess, dive deeper into the meanings of these human interpretations or human interpretations that we put on different things. Okay, so white privilege, what is white privilege? Okay, white privilege in America is being white, right? As most people would know, is just being white. um and why do we call it white privilege? We call it white privilege because there are certain things in that colored people or people of color go through that white people don't have to go through. And it's just as far as in our environments, as far as in different levels of the systems that they have in place, anything from education to housing to transportation to jobs to anything of anything, okay? In America, privilege or white privilege is very deeply embedded. Racism is very deeply embedded in our society. And so I guess the first thing that we can talk about is I'll talk about Asians, okay? And let's talk about Asians, all right? And I want to say a disclaimer before we start, okay? If you are one of the people or you are living the way that I like about like I don't know how to explain this. If this triggers you or this offends you because you are currently one of the people that I am talking about, don't be offended. See that as a wake-up call for you to ask yourself, why the fuck am I triggered? Why am I upset about her talking about how these things are wrong and how I fall under these categories? What can I do to change it? Okay? Because honestly, our triggers when we get upset about something somebody said, when we get offended by what somebody else said, like that's going to be the main pointer for you to know what you need to work on. Okay, so you're welcome. If you get triggered, you're welcome. Okay, I helped you out. All right, so Asians, let's talk about it. All right, I know my fellow Asians can fucking attest that most of us grew up in a very traditional sense. Traditional sense meaning they want you to go to school, they want you to get a good job, they want you to marry a husband, and they want you to make kids and, live a good life, right? Quote unquote. Now, what a lot of people don't want to admit is how Asians, and I talk about Asian people first because we benefit the most in this American society, okay? We benefit the most. Why? Well, we're not here first, right? But I guess in a sense, because we're more close to white people as far as complexion, they treated us with more respect. They treated us with more respect partly because of China. You know what I mean? Like they've been dealing with China for a really long time. And for the fact that they benefit off of us as much as we benefit off of them, right? And this goes to different things as far as business wise. Everybody who lives in the hood or anybody who lives in an area where you can drive through the hood, because that's how America is, right? Um, the the most the people who own the most businesses in communities are going to be Asian people, right? They own the beauty supplies, they own the nail salons, they own the Chinese restaurants, they own jewelry stores, they own, right? Like everything on the block, right? Corner stores, all that is all owned by Asian people. But who is the number one consumers? Black people. Right. If you said that, you was right. All right. And so the argument that I ran to a lot, and I'm speaking on this because I have personal experience. I went on Facebook after George Floyd had happened, right? And I got tired of the Vietnamese Facebook group for Houston. Okay, I got tired of them. I was dead ass tired. I only got on the page because my mom had asked me to, get on that page because they were doing some raffle a long time ago. So I had the page, like I was following the page. And so, up and down my timeline, as soon as this whole Black Lives Matter thing broke off, people was going off. And I'm talking about, this is all Asian people, okay? All Asian people who live in Houston, who live within the community and all that, right? They're all online talking shit. Right? And the only argument that people really have for not liking Black people is out of fear. Right? They're sitting there saying, okay, well, Black people are all thugs. They're all criminals. That's what they show us. You know what I mean? So that's what they are. And just that in itself is a system. The media portrays brown people and Black people as the main perpetrators. However, what they don't want to tell you is the fact that in the 86 Anti-Drug Abuse Act, this is a true fact. It's written in, this is one of the laws. So imagine all the other laws that we haven't even looked into, okay? I looked into this law personally. In the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 86, it is legal, okay, for somebody to catch a charge, like a drug charge, any kind of drug charge. And if they pay the amount stated in the law, they can get off on the charges. And that's individual or gang. Okay, because they have two different numbers. They say, okay, $2 million if you're an individual, or $8 million if you're anything other than an individual. What does that stand for? AKA gangs, right? So gangs and individuals have been getting off of drug charges since 86. Now, mind you, these laws are still active today. So these laws are the laws that they use to, what's it called? Because when this law came out, it basically set the minimum sentencing for any kind of drug acts or any drug charges, right? That's why it's called the Anti-Drug Abuse Act, was to set minimum sentencing so that people knew, okay, if you're going to fuck with these drugs, this is how much you're going to catch. This is how much time you're going to catch for this amount. You know what I mean? Like, so they set minimum sentencings. So like 10 years, 5 years minimum for that particular charge. And so obviously, statistic-wise, if you look in the FBI, crime reports and all of that, Black and brown people are indeed the higher, percentage. Like, we commit more of the crimes as far as violence-wise or any of these other things. But what they're not, like, factoring in is the fact that white people have more money than us. They have had generational wealth for years upon years upon years upon years. 40% of all billionaires get that shit from generational wealth. They don't just make it out of their fucking ass. You know what I mean? So by them saying that, yeah, we commit more crimes and stuff, they're leaving out the fact that all these white people that are getting off on charges and stuff, one, you can get off of a murder charge, okay? So I'm going to need people to stop saying that, oh, Blacks commit more violent offenses, okay, because they don't have a lawyer to get them off the motherfucking charge. They don't have a lawyer to tell them, hey, you could have just claimed self-defense and got off on this shit, right? Who has the lawyers? The white people, right? And so white people don't get mad. Don't get mad, because, and I know the people who know shit ain't gonna get mad because they know what's up, okay? This is what I'm gonna say. With everything that's going on, the only way for this shit to get better is for people to admit the wrongs of their past, okay? And start moving in a way that is beneficial for everybody, okay? We're not saying y'all need to give everybody reparations. We're not saying y'all need to give us all that money back. We're not saying any of this shit. We're just saying make it right, okay? And not just, oh yeah, racism is real, and then that's it. No, y'all need to make it right. Now, how y'all want to make it right? I don't know. Probably let's start off with the cannabis industry. You know what I mean? Like, that's one of the biggest things. Like, one of the main things that we can really talk about is the cannabis industry. Let's talk about how the cannabis, like, weed is illegal, and it's written in the Anti-Drug Abuse Act as one of the drugs in there, because it's a Scheduled 1 drug, which means it's up there with heroin and all the other narcotics and stuff. And so, it being a Schedule 1 drug, there can be no research done on it, right? No research will get funded for it, like, government-wise. They won't get approved to study cannabis and blah, blah, blah. But this is the thing. Why didn't they do any of that shit before they made it illegal? Because they was trying to trap us all, right? Because as we know, there are states now, probably like almost 20-something states, that cannabis is legal in. It is an essential business in these states. Essential since the pandemic started. Essential. I'm going to say it again. Essential. Cannabis, which is illegal, is an essential business. How now? I just want somebody to explain to me how the fuck that would work. And then on top of that, they done locked black and brown people up this whole motherfucking time for weed. But who the fuck is running these motherfucking multi-million-dollar corporations in the cannabis industry? White people. White people that ain't never smoked a day in their motherfucking lives is selling people who smoke weed. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I ain't never buy from no drug dealer that don't smoke. Okay? Now, we talking about weed. We're not talking about none of the other stuff. We just talking about weed. Okay? So that's just one. But let's go back to how people are benefiting off of privilege by not even being white. Okay? No, let's just go back. Let's go back. All right. So we talked about the businesses, right? In corporate America. Now, we know that they resolved this issue, right? They resolved this issue in corporate America to make, all employers have to be equal opportunity employers, right? They have to give everybody an equal chance to get hired, which means that there are certain demographic percentages that they need to meet. Now, we know this for sure in Harvard. Harvard was one of the biggest case studies. Why? Because Harvard was only allowing, white people and stuff in, and then they had to allow black people and Asians and anybody else of any other kind of race in there, and they have certain percentages set up, right? So once they hit their quota for diversity, because that's another word, diversity. That's something that they fucking made up to make us feel like they doing something, but they really not fucking doing shit, right? Diversity. Oh, they teach it in schools. Oh, it's diversity is great. This, that, and the third. Why? Because they don't want you to out here and point the finger to them and be like, well, why are there 10 white people and only one Asian person and one black person? What's going on? That's not right, right? So that's why they had to set up certain standards and stuff. But, however, we still use that in itself is a privilege, right? That in itself is a privilege. Because as y'all can see, most of the time, the higher ups are always white people. And second in line, they're Asians, right? You don't see, a black VP. They talk about certain states or certain cities having a black mayor or a black governor for the first time. And we're in fucking 2021 now. When we was hearing this shit last year about people finally getting their first black, leader in that community. So you telling me that doesn't just make you be like, yo, what the fuck? Like, that doesn't make you want to wake up? Because 2020 really was the year for y'all to fucking wake up. 2020 had all the fucked up shit that happened that you probably sat there and said, oh, this shit could never happen. Oh, this could never happen. And then it fucking happened, right? So 2021 is about talking about that shit. All right. Now let's move over to the Hispanics. All right. Let's move over to the Hispanics, our brothers and sisters on the other side of the border, right? Okay. So they say that white people still hold the majority in this country. I don't believe that. I truly believe that white people are finally becoming the minority. And that's why all this shit is happening now. Because of the fact that there's going to be a shift in power, right? White people have held power for this motherfucking long, and now this shit is starting to come down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? We starting to intermix and make babies with they people, and we starting to come back on the come up. You know what I'm saying? Black people and people of color are starting to become billionaires and millionaires, and now the scales are kind of starting to tip, right? So they have to do things to distract us, right? And so I just wanted to touch base on one little thing about why I feel like this shift is happening. Is the fact that whenever you're going to fill out a form, right? Any kind of government form, anything like that, they tell you to pick your race, right? You get to pick out a black, white, Asian. I think they have Hispanic on there, or Latino. And then, whatever, mixed. They have the box for mixed now, finally, right? And so y'all also notice that they ask you if you're of Latino descent, right? Now, going to the census, if you go and look at the census, there are two types of white people in America. They have white people of non-Hispanic descent, and they have white people of Hispanic descent. Okay? Now, that doesn't even make no motherfucking sense, because if you're Hispanic, you're Hispanic. How could you be white and be Hispanic, right? But think about it. There are people who are mixed that identify with being white more than they are Hispanic, right? And that's with any kind of body who is mixed, right? And so those people basically have the chance to tip the scale either way. Either they can pick to be white or they can pick to be Hispanic, right? On the form. We're not talking about real life. We're talking about on the form, okay? So statistically wise, they got all these people that are listed under white people that aren't really white people, or what we define as white people, like Caucasian people, people from Europe, people from European descent, okay? They talking about Hispanic people that are light complected, okay? So anybody who is a white Hispanic, you're benefiting off of white privilege, okay? And now I'm going to just start diving into different little things that will show you, if you didn't already know that was you having privilege, now you know, okay? One of the main things that any person of color can attest to is one of the ways that we have privilege, Asians, Hispanics, whatever, people who are not white, that you have privilege, is not being scared of the police. As stupid as that sounds to some of y'all, there are people, right? If you don't feel like this, there are people who, no matter every time that they leave the fucking house, they are fearful for their life. Why? Because all we see on TV is the cops killing people. We see this in TV shows. We see this in movies. We see this on the news. And it's to the point where they've desensitized us to all of this shit happening, that we don't even notice that our fellow brothers and sisters are out here hurting. Why? Because it's not us, right? And it's like the only argument that people really have is, oh, well, all I see is y'all are blaming the systems that be. Y'all are blaming the educational systems. Y'all are blaming, corporate America. Y'all blaming all these other things. Yet we have the opportunity that other people in other countries don't have. And that's my fucking problem with that statement is, so just because you're saying it's not as bad in America as it is across the world, that what they're doing to us is supposed to be okay. That's how brainwashed some people are. To the point where they're like, you know what? I came from Vietnam. And that's a third world country. Like, we had it so bad over there. Y'all actually have the opportunity to make money over here. And y'all choose to sit on your asses. And y'all choose to be on government assistance. And people who live here, who have seen it first fucking hand, know that that's not fucking true. Government assistance is supposed to help you not have to need the government's assistance anymore. But it doesn't. It makes you depend on them. Even things such as Christianity. Okay? A lot of black people don't want to fucking admit it. Okay? And I'm not downing God. I'm not downing Jesus. I'm not downing none of that shit. I'm just talking about Christianity and the people that fucking run Christianity. Okay? If y'all have ever seen Underground, it's a new TV show about the slave period. And during that time. Um, in one of the scenes, the slave master, the plantation owner, says to the preacher or the person who was coming to baptize his baby that he wanted to baptize the entire plantation. He wanted to bring all of his slaves and everybody on the plantation closer to God, right? And when I watched that scene, it just didn't sit right with me. I realized watching that scene, damn, they basically forced all these people into Christianity. And then we noticed that with most churches, they collect money from people and whatnot. And they really have people depend on the church for their spirituality. Right? You have to go to church every Sunday. You need to go to church every Sunday for you to be close with God. Even though in the same breath, they say God is everywhere at all times. So why do I have to go into your church, give you money every Sunday for me to be closer to God? You don't. You don't. They're only telling you that so they can get your money. They're only telling you that so that you can rely on them to get what it is that you thought you needed. When you could have sat at home and meditated and got in alignment with your higher self, with the God that's within you, and you would have been fine. Didn't they teach y'all that in the Bible? Like, I'm just like, the Bible is so contradictory. We're not even gonna talk about the Bible right now. We're not gonna get into it, because then I already know I'm gonna get into it with people. But it's the fact that, since this is the first video, I'm gonna try to keep it short as far as oppression wise. But it's the fact that they have us stuck in all these fucking systems that people don't see what's going on. Like, think about it. They have us focused on shit that doesn't even fucking matter. Like, what really matters is your spirit, right? Who you are as a person, what you're here to do, what your purpose is. All that shit is important. Now, what doesn't fucking matter is whether I have tattoos, whether I'm Asian or black or white, whether, you know what I'm saying? But they put those constructs on us to be able to oppress us and get us into the place that we are in today, right? By pitting us and our differences against each other, right? Because by the media portraying black and brown people as bad, like, you don't really think that plays an effect on people's mindsets, but it does. Because when, like I said, when I got into it with people on Facebook, people of my culture, people who are of my race, like who are Vietnamese, their main argument was black people are thugs, they're criminals. But where do they get this idea from? They get it from the media. They try to say, oh, it's because, when we live in the hood, like this, people be getting their house broken into and people being robbed and mugged and this and the third. But it's like, okay. But at the same time, you're not seeing all the white-collared, white people taking advantage of people and taking millions of dollars from everybody. Y'all not upset about that. You know what I'm saying? Y'all upset about violent crimes, and y'all are upset about this and the third, like drugs and all this, but y'all aren't upset about the fact that there are corporations, y'all, in America. And the reason why this isn't talked about or whatnot is because it's not illegal. Why is it not illegal? Because they made sure that there are laws in place to make it so that they can do whatever they want. Okay? Billion-dollar corporations such as Amazon don't pay taxes because they create jobs. They create jobs, yet they're sitting here making billions of dollars a year untaxed. Untaxed. Because they're creating jobs. What is that really? That is really a handout from the government. Okay? That is really a okay, because you're doing something for our country, here you go. Here you go. You're helping our economy. Here you go. Yet people like me and you that work a 9 to 5, well, I don't work a 9 to 5 anymore, but regular people that work a 9 to 5, small businesses, are having to pay buku money, buku taxes. But they rely on us though, right? Because this is the thing. If they did not rely on the middle class and small businesses for the American economy, why the fuck, when COVID happened, they came out with that PPP and that Paycheck Protection Program, where they were giving small businesses like $10,000 each, so that they wouldn't have to close their doors. Most of that money went straight to taxes. I'll tell y'all that. And I know this for a motherfucking fact because my parents owned a business. So I can tell you for a motherfucking fact, small businesses pay a lot of fucking taxes. A lot of fucking taxes. We're talking about you make $4,000 a month, you're paying at least $1,200 to $1,500 in taxes, if not $2,000. If not at least half of the money you made. Yet Mr. Benzos, who's making billions of dollars a year, doesn't have to pay a cent in taxes. Doesn't have to pay shit. Doesn't have to pay nothing. Like, honestly, this economy, the way that it is, the capitalist nature of America, it's not a long-lasting system. It's not. And we can all see that. Why? There are cracks everywhere now. There are cracks everywhere, and everybody's pointing out the cracks. To the point where the government itself can't even hide from that shit. Honestly, that's probably why they had this whole corona shit happen before the fucking election. Y'all really think that was just nothing? That was just really like another code that was going around? Come on, y'all. Come on. Let's get real, okay? Let's get real. Let me see what other notes I'm missing. Okay, going back to the excuses people give when I let them know that they have white privilege, okay? The main one for me is, oh, you feel like that, you care about Black Lives Matter, and you care about all that stuff because you're married to a black man. Now, first of all, I don't even know why that's a fucking argument or why that's even an excuse. Yes, I had somebody tell me that. Yes, I've had multiple people tell me that. And it's not valid. So you're telling me because I'm married to a black man, that's the only reason why I care about people getting treated wrong. So you're telling me because you're married to an Asian woman or you're married to a white person, you can't possibly give a fuck about what's going on with everybody else because that's what they told you and you just accepted it. Like, honestly, all this fucking shit is about questioning. Questioning the systems that be, questioning why the fuck shit is the way that it is, questioning what the fuck we can do to make a change. Because at some point in time, I know y'all are fed up. I'm fed up. Are we gonna do something about it? Or are we gonna sit on our fucking asses and keep on letting them fuck us with no lube? You know? Because at this point in time, it's like, now we know what the fuck is going on. We all know how the government works. So why can't we do something about it? Why can't we get together and do something about it? You know? Like, it's gone on too motherfucking long. Like, it's gone on too motherfucking long. And they've been showed us how fucked up it is. Because think about this. Let's put things into perspective. Black people were given the right to vote in 1870. 1870. In the 20th century. Not the 21st. Or is it? Is it the 21st? I think the 19th century, right? 2 centuries ago, basically. They were given the right to vote. Almost 2 centuries ago. It wasn't until 1965, so a whole 95 years later, that black people or people of color were allowed to go and vote without prejudice. Because what happened when they first let black people vote? They charged taxes. They had the grandfather clause where they said if your grandfather didn't vote, you can't vote. Which means what? Only white people can vote because only white people were able to vote before black people were able to vote, right? Okay. Poll taxes. That, them scaring people into not voting. Them making sure people were illiterate, right? That's why they kept the schools segregated so that not everybody got an equal opportunity to learn. That's what they don't want to say. Don't nobody want to admit that. And it wasn't until 1967, that the Supreme Court finally ruled that people were allowed to have interracial marriages. So before 67, in a lot of states, it was illegal for you as a white person to marry a black person. 67, y'all. 67 was how long ago? Was about 50 years ago, I think. 2021 minus 1967. 54 years ago. So when people try to argue and say, oh, slavery was a long time ago. Oh, all this shit was a long time ago. Why y'all still tripping about this? That's literally my dad's age. My dad was born in 67. So when you talk about all those white people that you see with the pickets and fences and all that shit, those are people's grandparents now. You know what I'm saying? People that didn't want schools to integrate, all that. Those are grandparents now. If not parents, if they had kids later. So it just puts in perspective how relevant everything is, even though people are trying to make it irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. It is very fucking relevant. And like I keep on saying, it's a new motherfucking age. Okay? It's a new motherfucking age. I ain't got nothing else left to say on this topic. So stay tuned for the next one. Most definitely gonna probably have to come up with a better outline, so that way I'm not just like rambling the whole time. But I am glad, if you're still watching, that you're here with me, but yeah, this is a topic that I'm very, very passionate about. I'm really tired of all the fucking bullshit, and I'm not gonna be quiet about it anymore. My next video, I'm probably just gonna make about my personal journey. I'm gonna make it about my personal journey, about how I came to the U.S., how my parents were racist, how they're no longer racist, and how I was able to do all that, and how I was able to convert them, how I was able to relearn and reteach myself, all of that. So yeah, just stay tuned. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If y'all have any comments, concerns, anything like that, let me know in the comments. Other than that, as y'all know, I am V, aka V the Truth. I read cards, energy, and people to filth. So normally my channel is about, card readings and all of that, but I feel like all of this stuff that is going on that we need to talk about and have conversations about are very relevant to our spiritual journey, because we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and this is part of our human experience. So I feel like it's very important to talk about. But yeah, if y'all have any comments, questions, or concerns, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Y'all have a wonderful day. Bye.